products. The flagship of this ecosystem, the flagship product is Hero AI Search. We're going to talk about why we're building that, how we're building that in a moment, and about the rest of the products, Hero Browser, Hero Private Wallet, Hero Ad Network, and Hero Merchants Account. I'm going to talk just after this talk, so bear with us. And now I will just give the floor to Shiram and Vatsal to present what Apta is doing.
Thank you very much, Ada. And everyone, thank you so much for coming to our event today. So just to set the scene, it's pretty clear to see that we've reached this inflection point, just given by the audience here and the amount of events that are centered around AI. And without doubt, a key driver of this has been the advent of the sophisticated conversational AI models, known as large language models. These are models such as ChatGPT, Mistral, Gemini, which many of us are using every single day. And it's not just the pace of development of these models, but also the rate at which they're being adopted into businesses and industries across the world, which is simply fascinating. So myself and Vatsal, we're the CEO and CTO of Apta AI. As Ada mentioned, we're a spin-out from the University of Cambridge. We're a research-first company, and we're going to be giving you a lot of insights into the technology that's driving this platform here. And we've partnered with Hero.io to develop conversational AI with advanced analytics, but applying that to the crypto sphere to give everyday individuals access to information, but also to democratize analytics, so that everyone can navigate crypto much more safely and in a much more informed manner. So that's a quick introduction to what we are, what we're doing. Just want to give you a quick scope of what we're going to be covering today. So first, from a technical side, we want to give you a background into what large language models are, what they're capable of, and how that capability has evolved in a very short amount of time. We then want to explain to you why large language models are not everything. There's actually a lot more we can do to improve this, and why agentic flow is actually the next big paradigm. Thirdly, I want to explain to you why currently agentic flow, which has recently emerged, is still limited in generalist use cases. And finally, I want to explain how Apta is unlocking the potential of agentic flow and applying this within the crypto space. So before we go any further, I just want to give you some background to the team at Apta AI. So I'm going to start by speaking about my co-founders in a very British fashion. So Vatsal here, his twin brother Vyas, who is somewhere in the audience at the back, and Adian are my co-founders. I would say the three of them are some of the brightest minds in conversational AI. They've been researching at the forefront of this field for the last 5 years. And just to give you some perspective, the field is really only 7 years old. They all did their PhDs in the Machine Intelligence Lab at the University of Cambridge. For anyone in the field, it's one of the most renowned institutions globally for cutting-edge AI research, especially in NLP. And the three of them have published over 30 papers in top-tier AI journals with a total of over 1,000 citations. So really, really bright minds here. And they've applied this beyond the academic setting. For example, Vatsal was at Meta, where he worked with the team that was behind Llama, as well as RAG, and his twin brother worked at AWS. Quick background to myself. I did my PhD in computational biology at the University of Cambridge, applying machine learning and deep learning to biotechnology. I then founded my first company, which was an AI company forecasting patient load for healthcare. I then spent some time at McKinsey & Company working on generative AI consulting before starting my own consulting company. And I just want to quickly touch upon that consultancy, because that gave a lot of insights that are driving the mission behind Apta today. So the consultancy was also founded by the same co-founders, and essentially enabled us to work with a range of players in the AI space. So we got to work with some of the largest AI native companies. For example, our largest client was Samba Systems. For anyone in the field, they're producing chips designed for large language models, and they're now valued at 6.1 billion. So it's amazing to see them do super, super well. We also worked with AI adopting institutions. These are institutions that are looking to harness the power of AI. We work with the National Healthcare System in the UK and the Saudi Arabia Council of Health Insurance. And finally, from the other side of the table, we work with a leading investor in Europe, Dawn Capital. They have a 700 million generative AI fund. And a lot of the insights today have been kind of an agglomeration of all these three different viewpoints we had by working with all these different players in the space. So I'm now going to hand over to Vatsal, who's going to talk us through the background to large language models.
Thanks, Sharon. So I just want to use this opportunity to make sure we're all on the same page and give a brief background of how we come out to the modern day instruction-tuned large language models. So in terms of the training pipeline of these instruction-tuned LLMs, there are really two stages. The first stage is what we call the pre-training stage. During pre-training, an LLM is trained to predict the next word in a sentence. And when extended to textual data across the whole internet, the LLM gains a strong grasp of the language. But standalone, a pre-trained LLM is not particularly useful. All it can really do is complete sentences. So there is the second stage which steps in, which we call instruction following. During this stage, a pre-trained LLM is taken and trained on a range of supervised tasks. For example, we have translation, summarization, or even question answering. And with this ability of being trained on this range of supervised tasks, the LLM gains a flexibility to follow a range of different instructions through the means of a prompt. So I've described to you kind of the two stages of how the modern day instruction-tuned LLMs are trained. I just want to hand back to Sharon now to explain what are the limitations of these remarkable language models.
Thank you, Cecil. So the reason we kind of went through this background is because a very common question we get is, are you using an LLM? And what we really want to get the point across today is that large language models have a lot of limitations, and we are powering this crypto AI copilot in a different way using something called agentic flow. But just to go into the kind of the problems with LLMs, there's essentially a single sentence I like to use to summarize the problem. And that's because the whole field right now is trying to build everything around large language models. They're essentially trying to screw a nail with a hammer, and that's for two main reasons. The first are large language models are not natively designed to handle diverse data types beyond unstructured text data. So when it comes to structured databases, which are common in so many use cases, just think of every industry which has large enterprise-scale databases, or numerical data, or charts and diagrams, which are essentially text but now spatially organized, or even multimodal data such as videos and images. Large language models are not natively designed to handle these. Now, a lot of research is being done to extend the capabilities of LLMs to handle these data types. But even if that's solved, there's a second much bigger problem. And that is that large language models just predict the next word. They're language models at the end of the day. They can't reason. And that leads to a range of problems when you want to execute more robust and accurate tasks. So let me demonstrate the second principle with an example. So right now, if we ask, what is the weather today? On the surface, that sounds like a very trivial question. But even this question requires reasoning, something that LLMs currently do not do. So right now, an LLM will just spit out an answer. It'll try to replicate its training data and find the most probable next word, without any grounding about the location or where the user is. Now, the field has begun to realize this limitation and has proposed a new paradigm, which I mentioned a little bit earlier, and this is called agentic flow. Now, in agentic flow, we use the LLM exactly what it's good at, which is to understand language. So it's only used for two steps in the whole pipeline of the system. I like to describe it as essentially the ears and the mouth of the system. So let me just give you the exact same prompt now, but through agentic flow. So when we ask the system, what is the weather today? The first step, we go straight to the LLM and use it as the ears of the system. And what it does here is it understands the intent of the user. What is the user trying to say, using its great grasp of human language? It then breaks this question down into tasks in a step called task decomposition. So here we can see we need two things here to answer this question. One, we need the live location of the user, but secondly, we need to find the live weather in that corresponding location. And now, instead of using an LLM to do the cognitive heavy lifting, we actually use a suite of agentic functions instead. So essentially, we are advancing conversational AI by taking the brain and making that agentic functions instead. So in this use case, we can see the first agent will identify your location. It might look for your IP address and then find the corresponding matching location. And then it passes that on to the second agent. It chains it on. And the second agent has access to live weather data across the world. And it then finds a matching weather in that particular location. So the second agent has produced an output. It's an accurate answer, but it's not necessarily the most intuitive, right? It's a JSON dictionary, as we can see in the top right. So what we do in the final step of the process is we pass this back to the large language model, which then formulates the answer into a nice conversational response. So we can see it's taken that dictionary and output the weather in Dubai today is sunny with clear skies and a max temperature of 31 degrees. So that's kind of agentic flow in a nutshell. And excitingly, it's begun to be incorporated in some of the most widely used models in the world. The most notable example is GPT-4o. So I want to give you a little bit of a glimpse of what that looks like. So off-the-shelf models like GPT-4o, they offer a range of what we call generalist agentic functions. So some of the main agents they have are a web search agent. This means that the LLM is now able to orchestrate a web search and perhaps answer questions with more live and up-to-date information. A second agent is the Python code agent, which enables simple mathematics. There's a file upload agent. There's also an image analysis agent. Now, these agents are what we call generalist. They offer surface-level capabilities. They're very useful if you want to cater to a broad range of use cases around a whole set of domains. But to really excel and really get a lot of value, we need deep capabilities. And these generalist systems are simply not capable of that. And there's 3 reasons why. So firstly, generalist, off-the-shelf models, even with agentic flow, lack access to very specialized agentic functions that we need to do a particular task within a particular niche. So just to make this a little bit easier for everyone, I just want to give you an example. Imagine I am an equity researcher at a bank, and I want to tell my trading team some insights. I want to find out what are the attributes of stocks that perform best in August 2024. Now, this type of question can't really be asked by an off-the-shelf generalist agent. A web search, a document, reading through a document, running some Python code is simply not going to answer this question. What we really need is some form of explainable machine learning model that can look through the stocks and attribute feature importance to give you and answer the question you really want. So that's the first problem. These generalist systems like GPT-4o lack access to domain specialized agents that we need in a niche. But let's imagine that's solved. Somehow, all off-the-shelf models like GPT-4 have access to all of these. There's a second really big problem, and that's because off-the-shelf systems lack access to the specialized data streams we need to power these models. So, for example, in this use case, we need time series information of all the US stocks, and we also need the metadata for all those stocks to be able to run this agent, this machine learning model. So that's the second problem, a lack of domain-specific data. But let's imagine a utopia. We have all the agentic functions in the world that we need for any tiny niche, and we also have access to all the data in the world somehow, live and dynamic. There's still a third really big problem, and that is current conversational AI is reactive. You type a question in and the computation starts. And while that enables us to execute fairly simple responses to prompts, when you want to scale that to more complex tasks, it simply wouldn't have enough time. It would take too long. The latency would be too high, and a user would not be able to wait. So those are 3 really big problems with generalist agentic flows, such as those used by GPT-4o. And I want to explain to you how Apta is solving these problems.
So Shram has highlighted 3 of these challenges with the generalist agentic framework. At Apta, we try to address these issues explicitly. So first, we at Apta try and build what we call domain-specific copilots, which means we have domain-specific agents and domain-specific data. So this addresses the first 2 challenges directly. Now the third challenge is more difficult, of how do we, on the fly, give deep insights and sophisticated insights from data using natural language without high latency. And in order to solve this issue, the way we resolve it is by having proactive agents in place of reactive agents. And this enables deep insights to be drawn from domain-specific data by just using natural language, by using these preemptive agents in place of the reactive agents, because the heavy computation is done in advance. So I've summarized here that we operate by one domain at a time. So the first domain we are operating for is the crypto space. And for that, we've partnered with Hero. So I want to give you a framework here of the different types of agents and domain-specific data that we have for the crypto space. Over here at the top, I've given an example of a very simple question which might come into our LLM. Is Pepe up? As before, as Sharon described, the ears of our system is the LLM. It understands the user's intent. And based on the user's intent, it routes the user's query to the appropriate agent. Now, as you can see, under the hood, we have a range of different agents. For example, we have what we call the fundamental knowledge agent. The fundamental knowledge agent could be something like a RAG framework. It's operating over a range of vetted textbook about fundamental crypto knowledge. Another agent, which is relevant to this question in this case, is the live market agent. The live market agent is connected to a database of information about a range of different tokens in the crypto space, which allows people to access complicated insights over this information, which may require some level of filtering. For example, can you tell me the top gaming coins in the last 3 days in terms of the price movements? There's other agents beyond this, which get a bit more exciting. For example, we have the market analytics. What we do here is offer the opportunity for individuals to use natural language to extract technical indicators about certain tokens. For example, finding out quant signals such as MACD, RSI. Beyond this, we have what we call the influencer validator. The influencer validator is connected to an external data source, all the influencer videos related to the crypto space, the claims they have made. This agent is able to backtest these influencers and inform you of how likely, when an influencer makes a certain claim, are they likely to be correct. Another exciting one is what we call the social media sentiment. This will be connected to various platforms, for example, Telegram community channels. And this tracks, for example, the sentiment evolution across these Telegram channels for various different tokens, which we know in the crypto space is a big driving force of the price value of certain tokens. So here I've given an example of lots of different agents which we use underneath the hood in our domain-specific copilot for crypto. So rather than boring you with just this workflow diagram, let's see a demo actually of a type of question which is usually ring-fenced to what we call crypto analysts. People who have the mathematical modeling skills or the programming skills to be able to draw deep insights from the data. And what we do is try to unlock this flexibility to any user in the space who might not necessarily have this skill set. So let's see this demo. So what we can see here is that someone is typing a complicated question where they're asking about specific gaming coins they want to find out, which is live, and also setting a set of conditions that must be satisfied according to this specific purpose. So as you can see here, it's just a natural language query someone is typing without any skill set and with a very complicated set of conditions which are very specific to their purpose, something they would not be able to find very easily or would take several hours if they were to do it on their own. As we can see, the system spits out an answer to the specific question the user asked. And beyond this, there is the flexibility for the user to actually do a bit more due diligence. They can ask the system to do the technical analysis for one of the gaming coins identified. And what we see coming out of the system here is a natural language interpretation of various quant indicators. So rather than just telling the system, telling the user that a certain token is bullish or bearish according to certain quant indicators, there's this natural language explanation of what is actually going on, which can help make sense to the user. And finally, our output is completely multimodal. Alongside actually giving the natural language interpretation, there's also these quant indicator graphs. So hopefully that gives you a high-level idea of what we do at Apta and how we build a domain-specific copilot for the crypto space. And the main point I want you to take away from this demo is that we are aiming to be a one-point access for all your crypto needs. I now want to hand back to Sharon to describe where we are going next with our copilot.
Thank you, Vatsal. So we've just given you a quick demo of some of the capabilities we have right now. In addition, we have in the top left, you can see we have a news portal. This enables anyone to get quick access to global crypto news, expanded if they want to make the news longer, as well as finding token-specific news day by day. And we track the sentiment of this media also to show you clearly how the sentiment has evolved from the media. We also have this feature called Health Score. Now, the idea is there's a lot of potential scams in the crypto space. We've trained a machine learning model that looks at previous scam coins and looks at new launches and tells you the likelihood of these coins being healthy or not, as well as the reasons behind this, because we want to educate people, we want this AI to be completely interpretable. So very, very happy to demo all of these things afterwards if you find any of our team. I just want to give you a quick snippet of some of the experts we're going to be releasing soon. So the first is the influencer validator. We can see an example here. There's a lot of influencers in the space, and we want to provide really, really granular information about what calls KOLs are providing. So as we'll see here, we want to be able to answer questions such as what was their track record, how successful are they on a macro level, but also start to provide deeper information. After a particular KOL has made a call, how long after that does the price tend to increase for before crashing? And essentially we want to become a one-stop shop. Beyond analytics, we want Hero to become the Perplexity AI of Web3, the single portal where you can find all the information in your needs. You might want to find an ATM in Singapore that takes USDT. All those types of questions should be able to get answered through the single portal. So thank you very much for listening. We're very happy to take any questions. Please find us for a demo. And if you're interested in signing up to the first version of Hero, please scan the QR code in the top right, fill in your email, and you'll get full access to the platform. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, and we will have time to talk about all the questions during the break. The next talk is going to be delivered by me, and I will look at doing various parts of the Hero ecosystem. Your technicians want to warm me up. Thank you. Okay. Okay. So we think that we're at the time where actually UX in crypto and Web3 really, really matters. And at the same time, we're at the time where more and more people are coming to the space. The audience worldwide of people utilizing crypto, knowing what crypto is, it has grown a lot. We have seen massive movements this year with Bitcoin ETFs, Ethereum ETFs. So we strongly believe that this is the future. And we think that the space lacks products that are accessible to every normal person in the world. And that's why we have decided to build a whole ecosystem of products all connected under the name of Hero. And I would like to talk about them now. Okay, so first of all, our products. Well, we have already talked about Hero AI Search, which is both a search engine and an AI co-pilot that is able to give you deep contextual insights and intelligence on crypto. This product, as Jerome just said, we're gonna be able to offer you free access to try it out very, very soon. And all of the other products are already live, and you're able to try them out today. And we believe that when we put all of them into one, it's going to be an amazing experience for other side, everyone. So let's start with Hero Browser. Hero Browser is Chromium-based browser. It's a simple browser that you can download just like Google Chrome, and you can utilize it for anything online in full privacy. It also has an integrated dApp store where with one click you'll be able to access any of the decentralized apps. And one other feature that we think is very valuable is to have your identity, your Web3 identity, KYC your profile added to that browser so that for anything that you do crypto, you don't need to connect the wallets again and utilize different tools. This is how it looks like.
And the browser has two inbuilt features. One of them is the AI Copilot and AI Search. This product also, just like any other product in the ecosystem, works as a standalone product, but also it's nice to use it directly from our browser. The browser itself and the search engine is powered by a self-servicing ad network. So as soon as our tool is going to be launched, the advertisers that sometimes find it hard to advertise their crypto blockchain related products, just because the policies of many of the platforms today are very anti-crypto. We want to offer this opportunity for these companies to come to our search engine, to come to our browser and reach the users from there. The other tool that is integrated into Hero Browser is a wallet. The private wallet, non-custodial wallet, you are able to manage your keys. You are in charge of the crypto that you have online. And while we're aware that there are a lot of wallets out there, we think that with some of the features that are coming live soon, like reoccurring payments, the legacy, what happens if you don't use your wallet anymore after a long period of time, this wallet will be able to transfer all your funds to the dedicated wallet, which is important for all kinds of reasons. But also, wallet is an important part of the ecosystem for us, because we believe that with the second version of the product that will be live in about a year from now, we will be able to allow you an experience during which you can connect your wallet with the AI chat and do trades with a natural language interface directly from the chat, the so-called chat to trade. We still have to wait for the market to be ready for that, right? It's a long process of educating the consumers. If a new crypto startup comes to you and says, hey, connect your wallet and we'll trade for you, maybe it's a good thing to be a little bit skeptical about that. But after our search is live and has thousands and millions of users, and users trust that, we can launch this chat to trade feature. This is how the wallet looks like. It's live on our website, on our browser. Everyone is invited to try it out. Finally, Hero Market, it's something like CoinMarketCap, which is a nice display of all the trends, not only in crypto, but we also have metals here. We're going to have stocks here. So for anything trading, it's also integrated into the wallet. It has all of the pieces in one place. And finally, this is a B2B product for merchants who want to accept payments in crypto and receive the money in fiat to the bank accounts. While we believe in Web3 and blockchain, we know that nowadays we're still in the economy and will always be a part of the economy that is operated in fiat. So businesses that are so brave to offer actually their customers to pay in crypto, they need to have a good way to convert that money to fiat normal people money and to pay their bills with that. So this is what we're offering with HeroPay. We recently acquired a virtual asset service provider holder based in the European Union, our partner who brought this white label solution to the ecosystem. And then there's a final piece, which is one ID that you can utilize for all of these products. When at the beginning I was mentioning that we believe crypto has to be accessible for everyone, also Hero ID is going to help our users to have this one unified profile with which they can utilize all of the products in the ecosystem. So there's a little bit of a background of how the Hero ID works. We know that to be part of the blockchain Web3 world, quite often you have to identify ourselves as users through KYC, know your customer procedures, and we believe it's enough if you've done it with one provider. You don't have to leave your personal data again and again through various providers, and with this one ID you are able to operate in our ecosystem. And finally, we're launching a token that is going to power the ecosystem. Of course, we are open to accept payments for all of our products in fiat. We don't think that utilizing crypto has to be a hurdle to anything, so we don't want to force this upon anyone. But utilizing the token also through various community incentive mechanisms that we're launching, like Search and Earn, actually incentivizing users to come and do searches and get an airdrop for that. This will help us to further train our AI models, so people who are the real fans and very active users of these products, they might as well utilize our token, and we're showing here how this is going to work. So these are a few insights, a few glimpses of the ecosystem that we're launching with Hero. You are welcome to connect with me on all of these channels. I'm everywhere, 20 messaging apps. You will find me. Reach out to me for any business development, investment-related queries, and of course, the QR code. Please leave your email address. You might remember when ChatGPT launched, maybe just some people had access to it. Now, if you leave your email, you're going to be one of the first people in crypto who have this crypto alpha insights earlier than everyone else. What can be better than that? So thank you so much. And let's connect over a coffee and a croissant afterwards. And thanks. And now in this session of talks, we have just one more talk. And then we let everyone network, and we're going to have the second session. So here we have invited Vias, and he's going to...
Yes, Brandon, to talk about NLP and how the experience that he had in a hedge fund he's going to talk about is informing our product. And you might think we just saw the speaker on the stage. It's not the same person who changed the clothes. We actually have AI twin brothers here with us today. So after this intro, I give the floor.
Thank you so much, Ada. Yes, I am not Vato, I am VS. I look the same, but I am different. So, I'll just do this. So, we as humans love to invest in assets. And to inform our investment decisions, we often look at social media. We look at what's happening in the news. We listen to our friends. And we say, okay, I think this is going to go up, this is going to go down. I'm going to buy, I'm going to sell. And this is great. It works for some of us. It doesn't work for others. But in this talk, I want to talk to you about natural language processing to automate and scale this process. And these are learnings I had from working at a hedge fund. So without further ado, I just want to give a very brief background to explain why I'm giving this talk. Okay, so I did my undergraduate in information engineering at Cambridge and followed this by doing natural language processing with a focus on large language models at Cambridge for my PhD. Beyond this, I was fortunate to apply my research in industry with Amazon Web Services, where I was looking at the robustness of these LLMs. And then I looked at how we can apply LLMs in the space of finance. And this brings me to NLP in finance. So this was with Schoenfeld in New York, where my role was effectively to see, can we automate the extraction of what is called alpha, signals in natural language sources that can help inform investment decisions. So we're talking about NLP, we're talking about finance and alpha. So I know you've all had a brief background to NLP in the previous talks, but I want to give an even broader and briefer background next. Have I done something wrong? Okay, cool. So NLP in the broader sense is a simple pipeline. There is some kind of natural language text source. And what we want to do with that source is extract some kind of attribute. So in the example here, the NLP model wants to extract the sentiment in the input sentence. So I went to a park where it was sunny and nice today. And we as humans think this is a very positive sentence. And the NLP model, if trained correctly, will also classify this as positive. And this is great. Models can be trained to perform very specific natural language tasks. And almost any NLP model does some kind of extraction process in this way. But then in 2020, we came up with foundation models. And the great thing about foundation models was that instead of performing a single task, they can flexibly perform a range of tasks through a single framework. And the range of tasks is controlled through a prompt. So to perform the same sentiment classification, we now pass a prompt. What is the sentiment towards the sun in the following sentence? The same sentence as below. And what's interesting to note is the LLM can perform the task correctly, but it also differs in the nature of the output. It no longer predicts a single label, positive or negative, associated with the sentiment, but now it generates a sequence of tokens. And what I want to emphasize is that this is a very powerful tool for us because it allows explainability and reasoning behind decisions made. And you will see why this is so important in the space of finance and when extracting alpha. Okay, so we have the background to NLP, and now we can move on to the main framework of how NLP is employed. So as humans, when we use any kind of natural language source, we are in a way following a simple framework. We look at an unstructured text source. It could be the news article. It could be a post on Twitter. And we identify some asset mentioned in that source. It could be a crypto asset. It could be a stock. It could be a future. And based on this identification, we also extract some kind of sentiment or signal based on what's said. And then we go and make our investment decision. So as mentioned before, all we're trying to do with NLP and large language models is do the same process, but at scale and automated. So we can make far more trades in a more principled manner and be more confident in the decisions we make. But, as I emphasized in the previous slide, it's not enough to have the final decision. We also need to know why that decision is made, because that's what makes the decision robust to temporal changes in the future. And what I mean by explainability is given here. In the first example, we have a successful NLP model. It's able to extract the alpha, the signal we care about, and it tells us to go and buy the Apple stock. But the second situation is what we need. It gives the decision to go buy Apple stock, but it also explains why that decision has been made by the NLP model. Because as humans, we always get the explanation, which is why we make the decision. But if we rely on NLP as a black box, we don't have that explanation. But with the modern day large language models, we perhaps can extract those explanations. So the example here is buy Apple because perhaps iPhone 16 is about to be released, there's going to be a lot of hype, and the stock price may go up. So what I've done here so far is given a framework for how we generally apply the NLP strategy to automate and extract signals. But what I want to do next is go through 3 main alpha signals, which I think we could all adopt if we have the right tools. And something I've seen some hedge funds apply, but some I've seen as a potential use case for future hedge funds too. So the first one, the simplest one. Relating to what we've seen with the example earlier, we can simply look to extract sentiment from our sources. So common sources we would look at are social media posts, perhaps related on Telegram channels or Twitter or Facebook. Or more precisely, we can look at CEO call transcripts. Here, the NLP model, and in this case, note, it doesn't have to be a large language model, can simply extract the sentiment. And there are different forms of sentiment which inform our investment decisions. There's a polarity, but there's also confidence, there's temporal, there's emotional sentiment. But what's more interesting is this only gives us, again, a binary label. So how do we get the explainability we were talking about earlier? And you can see this here. There are clever tricks in NLP we can adopt to try and extract the explanations behind our decisions. So in this pipeline, I've shown that the NLP model we've used, it could be a large language model such as ChatGPT or Mistral or your own fine-tuned model, will extract the sentiment and the reasons behind the sentiment in the source. And once you've extracted that sentiment, what we can do is something called topic modeling. Topic modeling is a process to identify the main reasons behind the different nodes in our explanations. So in layman terms, what that means is we apply some kind of clustering algorithm. We find the groups of reasons which explain the decision made. So an example here, we've identified 3 groups. One group may be referring to something to do with hiring. Another group may be referring to product launch. And the reasons we see in different sources may fall in one of these groups. And what this does is now allows us to have a archetypical explanation for each node and for each cluster, which helps us inform why the decision made by the NLP model is what it is. Great, so that's alpha 1, and I would say that's the simplest kind of alpha most NLP tool users in the hedge fund space would use. So let's move on to alpha 2. This is looking at the notion that as humans, we don't only look at sentiment. Sentiment is a big driver, especially in crypto, but there are many other salient events which inform signals. And one example I've given here is in sources such as financial reports, news articles, company filings, there are many key events often indicated which will trigger big price changes. These key events could include mergers, acquisitions, management changes, even lawsuits. And because these have such big impacts on price, it's very easy and very meaningful to extract these insights using NLP. Great, so this one's a very simple model. You can use NLP model to do some kind of entity extraction, identify the salient event, and use that using human intuition to guide the investment decision. Because it's intuitively already explainable. You already have the salient event, which we know to have a certain impact on the price. And now to the third example, the most complex and probably the most interesting in my opinion. This I call causal relationship extraction. So now when we have a text source, we don't want to extract an attribute associated with a single asset. We instead want to go and identify correlations between multiple assets. So imagine you're reading a news report. It refers to a company called Colton Mining had an accident in the mining industry. And this has led to a significant drop in its stock value. But you also notice that this leads to a shortage in supply of the iPhone. Instantly, if your NLP model is smart enough, or as we humans think, it can extract a relationship between these two entities. And what we can do is populate a causal graph. So an example here will say the node, which refers to mining companies, has an impact on the Apple stock. Now, this is great. We can populate the graph using lots and lots of sources and make it extremely rich. But the real power comes in when we get a new document we haven't seen before. This new document may refer to a single asset. It could be just the mining asset. And using that document, we may extract some signal. But now we can employ the graph we have. Based on the signal we have for a single asset, we can move this through the entire graph and see how it will impact all of the other assets. And that's the real power. We now can make informed decisions about assets that aren't even mentioned in the reports we are reading. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's the 3 alphas which I think are the most meaningful and the most interesting to employ. And what I'm going to do now is just give a very, very brief overview of how we employ these asset extraction approaches in practice. So the first thing you do is you identify the strategy. This could be one of the 3 mentioned before. The strategy is used to identify alpha. Once you have the strategy, you have to go and backtest it on historical data. It's not enough to say from intuition the strategy should work. You have to know how well it does. And if it does very well on backtested data, you can see, okay, is this strategy explainable? Because you only really want to deploy explainable strategies because you know they will be resilient to change because you know why they work. And if it's explainable and it works in a backtested way, you can go forth and deploy it. And really, that's all there is to the strategy development cycle. And I hope this has been a useful insight into how hedge funds operate and how we could perhaps exploit the same strategies in the crypto space to inform our decisions. So that's a conclusion, just listing the points I've gone through today. And I hope if there are any other questions, please feel free to come to me afterwards. And otherwise, I think Ada wants to mention one last thing. Or while Ada walks over.
We're having a break now. let's connect, let's talk. If you like our backpacks, take them with you. Then we take them back with us to Dubai. And we're going to have a break of about half an hour, and then we're going to talk about data. Well, everyone who is in AI knows how important it is to have clean, reliable models. And we're going to talk about LLM and watermarking, use case for business and centralized AI field. Thank you.